These legendary stars illuminated the worlds of music, film, and sports with their extraordinary talents until fate struck in the most shocking and unexpected ways imaginable. From fatal scarf twists to beer runs gone catastrophically wrong, these tragic endings serve as chilling reminders that sometimes the most ordinary moments become the deadliest. Dotty West, country's queen, takes her final fatal ride. The pioneering country music trailblazer was frantically rushing to perform at the sacred Grand Ole Opry stage when her reliable car suddenly stalled on that fateful August 30th evening in 1991. Dotty wasn't just any performer. She was one of Nashville's first female singer-songwriters who broke glass ceilings with her fiery red hair and golden pen. When neighbor George Thaxton graciously offered assistance, she gratefully accepted what seemed like divine intervention from a passing Good Samaritan. However, as they approached the treacherous Opryland exit ramp in the gathering darkness, Thaxton catastrophically misjudged the dangerous curve, roaring into it at a devastating 55 miles per hour instead of the clearly posted 25 miles per hour limit. The car launched airborne like a guided missile before slamming into the unforgiving concrete embankment with the crushing force of a freight train collision. The impact mangled both the vehicle and Dotty's fragile body beyond recognition. West miraculously survived the initial brutal impact, her country music toughness keeping her alive as emergency responders fought desperately to extract her from the twisted wreckage. But the internal injuries were too catastrophic for even modern medicine to overcome. She was 58 years old when Nashville lost one of its most influential voices. Lisa Left Eye Lopes, TLC's fiery soul forever silenced. On that tragic April 25th, 2002, the electrifying TLC member was navigating the treacherous, winding jungle roads of La Ceiba, Honduras, during what was meant to be a deeply spiritual cleansing retreat away from the pressures of fame. Lisa had always been the wild card of the group, bringing raw edge and fierce attitude to their polished R&B sound with her signature condom eye patch and no-holds-barred personality. When she desperately swerved to avoid an oncoming truck and then another approaching vehicle on the narrow mountain road, her rented Mitsubishi Montero SUV completely lost control, rolling violently multiple times like a metal tumbler before crashing into two massive roadside trees. Not wearing a protective seatbelt in the pre-airbag era vehicle, she was horrifically ejected through the shattered windows during the devastating multi-roll sequence. The vibrant 30-year-old was pronounced dead at the haunting scene, surrounded by twisted metal and broken glass scattered across the jungle floor. Most eerily prophetic and spine-chilling, just days earlier, she had spoken directly on camera about sensing a dark, ominous presence following her everywhere she went, as if death itself was stalking close behind her every step. That footage still haunts TLC fans worldwide to this day. 3. Tom Mix, the original silver screen. Cowboy's last desperate ride. The legendary silent film Western icon was taking what he believed was a time-saving shortcut through the scorching Arizona desert landscape in October 1940 after visiting the local sheriff in dusty Tucson on routine business. Tom Mix wasn't just another actor. He was the blueprint for every American Western hero who followed, having starred in over 300 films and performed death-defying stunts that made women swoon and men aspire to his rugged masculinity. As Mix sped south of Florence in his cherished convertible along the desolate highway, something went catastrophically and inexplicably wrong with either the vehicle or his control of it. He lost complete control at high speed, and the convertible flipped with bone-crushing, devastating violence, launching both metal debris and Mix himself through the air with brutal, deadly force that defied survival. A heavy aluminum suitcase from the back seat became an unintended, lethal projectile, striking his head with sledgehammer force and delivering the fatal blow that no stunt coordinator had ever choreographed. The man who had miraculously escaped thousands of carefully choreographed on-screen deaths and near misses finally met his genuine, unavoidable end in the dusty, unforgiving heat of Arizona's merciless landscape at age 60. A roadside memorial still marks the exact spot where the cowboy's final ride ended. 4. Harry Chapin, the master storyteller's final highway journey. The beloved cats-in-the-cradle singer and passionate humanitarian was selflessly driving to perform at yet another free benefit concert on July 16, 1981. Something he did frequently and generously throughout his career, often donating more time to charity than to paid performances. Harry had built his reputation not just as a musician, but as a masterful storyteller who could spin raw human emotion into unforgettable songs about taxi drivers, distant fathers, and everyday heartbreaks that resonated with millions. While traveling in his modest Volkswagen Rabbit along the busy multi-lane Long Island Expressway during the afternoon rush hour. He never saw the massive 18-wheeler semi-truck approaching from behind at devastating high speed like a runaway freight train. The collision crumpled his small, defenseless car like fragile paper in a hydraulic press, and orange flames immediately erupted from the ruptured fuel tank, engulfing the twisted wreckage in an inferno. Chapin, only 38 years old and at the peak of his creative powers, died while heading to help others in desperate need. A final, beautiful act of characteristic generosity and selflessness that perfectly defined his compassionate approach to life and music. The irony that his final journey was one of service made the tragedy even more heartbreaking for those who knew his generous spirit. 5. Eddie Cochran. Rock and roll's brightest young flame tragically extinguished. The electrifying summertime blues and come on everybody rocker was riding in a hired taxi with his devoted fiancée Sharon Sheely and fellow rock pioneer Gene Vincent, heading toward London's Heathrow Airport after completing a wildly successful UK tour on the rainy night of April 17, 1960. Eddie represented the very essence of teenage rebellion with his slick guitar riffs, leather jacket attitude, and raw rock and roll energy that electrified the late 1950s music scene. In the quiet countryside town of Chippenham, England, their hired taxi lost control on the rain-slicked, treacherous roads and slammed violently into an unforgiving steel lamppost with tremendous impact force. Cochran, ever the protective gentleman even in his final moments, reportedly threw his lean body over Sharon to shield her from the devastating crash impact. A heroic, selfless decision that likely cost him his precious young life, but saved hers. He was rushed to St. Martin's Hospital in Bath, barely conscious and clinging desperately to life with massive internal injuries. He died the following day on April 18 at just 21 years old, with his rock and roll dreams and musical potential barely begun. The music world reeled from the loss of such a promising young talent whose influence on rock music would far outlast his brief earthly existence. 6. Jessica Savage. The pioneering newswoman's tragically silent end. The groundbreaking television news anchor was riding as a passenger with her boyfriend Martin Fishbein after enjoying what seemed like a pleasant dinner together on that dark, rainy October 23rd night in 1983. Jessica wasn't just another pretty face reading teleprompters. She was one of the first women to anchor a major network newscast in American television history, shattering gender barriers with steely professional poise and a commanding voice that could cut through any chaos. As they drove along the narrow, winding back roads of New Hope, Pennsylvania, slick with dangerous autumn mist and completely devoid of protective lighting, warning signs, or safety barriers, their car somehow veered off the treacherous roadway and plunged directly into a deep, murky canal filled with black water. The cold water swallowed their vehicle completely and mercilessly, trapping both occupants inside with absolutely no possible escape route as the car rapidly filled with water and sank into the muddy bottom. The trusted, authoritative voice that millions of Americans had relied on for accurate news and information was permanently silenced at just 36 years old. No television cameras present to record her final moments, no final professional words or sign-off, just the haunting, eternal silence of dark canal water. Her death stunned the entire broadcast journalism community and left a void in television news that took years to fill. 7. Jack Anglin. Country star dies driving to mourn, tragically joining the loss. The respected country music duo member was making the somber, grief-stricken journey to attend dear friend and fellow country legend Patsy Cline's heartbreaking funeral service on March 8, 1963, when his own vehicle crashed somewhere along the route to pay his final respects. Jack was one half of the legendary Anglin brothers duo, whose harmonious voices had carried the heartbreak and hope of small-town America across radio waves and into jukeboxes nationwide during country music's golden era. The cruel, chilling irony was absolutely inescapable and haunting. A deeply grieving man driving in emotional turmoil to mourn one beloved country music legend tragically became part of the very wave of devastating losses he was traveling to commemorate and process. The country music world, already reeling from Patsy's shocking death just days earlier, was further shattered by this additional, unexpected blow. He was 47 years old, leaving behind a musical legacy and a widow who had to endure the unimaginable pain of losing her husband while preparing to bury her friend. The double tragedy linked these two country stars forever in death, bound by grief and a merciless stretch of American highway. 8. Isadora Duncan, the dance revolutionary strangled by her own signature style. The rebellious modern dance pioneer and artistic revolutionary gracefully stepped into an elegant, open-top Amilcar CGSS sports car in the glamorous French Riviera city of Nice on September 14, 1927, radiant and fearless as she had always been throughout her groundbreaking career. Isadora had completely revolutionized dance by rejecting ballet's rigid, traditional constraints and letting her soul spill freely onto stages through wild, fluid, expressive motion that redefined artistic expression. Her flowing signature silk scarf, wrapped characteristically around her neck and fluttering dramatically and theatrically in the warm Mediterranean evening breeze, was as much a part of her identity as her revolutionary choreography. As the elegant convertible began moving through the cobblestone streets, her beloved scarf suddenly caught in the car's exposed, spoked rear wheel and pulled devastatingly tight around her slender neck like a noose. The tremendous mechanical force yanked her violently from the comfortable passenger seat, slamming her head and fragile neck against the unforgiving stone pavement with fatal impact force. She died exactly as she had lived her entire artistic life, dramatically, unapologetically, and perpetually in graceful, poetic motion that defied convention. She was 50 years old, and her death became as surreal and hauntingly memorable as her revolutionary life and artistic contributions to modern dance. 9. Chu Berry, bebop jazz genius tragically cut short. The extraordinary saxophone prodigy and highly influential bebop revolution pioneer was traveling through the small town of Kit, Ohio, on October 27, 1941, likely mentally working out new innovative riffs in his brilliant musical mind or planning his next electrifying performance that would further revolutionize jazz music. Leon Chu Berry wasn't just another musician. He was reshaping the entire sound of a generation alongside legends like Coleman Hawkins, standing shoulder to shoulder with the greatest talents of the swing era. His promising and revolutionary musical journey ended abruptly and tragically when his vehicle met another car head-on in a devastating collision that offered no chance of survival for either driver. Berry died instantly at just 33 years old, permanently silencing a revolutionary, innovative sound that was still beautifully unfolding and directly inspiring future jazz legends like John Coltrane and Charlie Parker, who would carry forward his musical innovations. The loss echoed far beyond concert stages and recording studios. Coltrane had admired his technique, Parker was inspired by his improvisational style, and Berry wasn't just part of jazz history, but was actively writing it in real time when fate intervened. No farewell performance, no final recording session, no swan song, just a highway collision, a newspaper headline, and a musical void that no saxophone could ever adequately fill in the jazz community. 10. Ernie Kovacs, television's mad creative genius gone in steel and smoke. The innovative television comedy pioneer and creative visionary was driving through the quiet, empty streets of West Los Angeles just past midnight on January 13, 1962, after attending a lively Hollywood party filled with fellow entertainers and industry figures. Ernie wasn't just ahead of his time, he had warped time itself, turning television's small screen into his personal playground for surreal comedy and experimental entertainment that wouldn't be fully appreciated until decades later. Perhaps tired from the late evening, possibly distracted by creative thoughts, or simply unlucky in that fateful moment, control of his vehicle slipped away as he navigated through the deserted streets under flickering streetlights. His Chevrolet Corvair station wagon suddenly veered without warning and smashed directly into a power pole with tremendous, bone-crushing force. The impact so severe it ejected him through the passenger side door onto the hard, unforgiving concrete pavement below. The brilliant entertainer and television innovator, who had made countless millions laugh worldwide with his absurdist humor and groundbreaking techniques, was gone instantly at 42. No camera tricks available to save him, no laugh track playing in the background, no director yelling cut, just cold concrete, twisted metal, and a streetlight flickering over a broken genius. His death hit the entertainment industry like a devastating gut punch, silencing one of television's brightest, boldest, and most experimental voices in an era when the medium was still finding its creative identity. 11. Steve Prefontaine, America's legendary Running Rebels final race. The iconic distance-running legend and American track superstar left a celebratory post-meet party in Eugene, Oregon on May 29, 1975, with his blood alcohol level measuring dangerously twice the legal limit after an evening of drinking and celebrating with fellow athletes. Pre wasn't just another runner. He was a force of nature with a distinctive mustache that rivaled his swagger and a fearless stride that dared the entire world to keep up with his relentless pace. Behind the wheel of his cherished British MG convertible sports car, everything went tragically and irreversibly black within just a few minutes of leaving the party. His lightweight car swerved violently off the roadway, flipped completely over multiple times and pinned his muscular body helplessly underneath the crushing weight of twisted metal on the cold Oregon asphalt. The fearlessly competitive 24-year-old, who had broken multiple American distance running records and challenged the Olympic establishment, couldn't outrun the devastating consequences of one night's fatally reckless decision to drive while intoxicated. America lost its golden boy of grit and determination, a rebellious athlete who ran from nothing but couldn't escape a curve that was too sharp, approached too late, and negotiated too recklessly. His death sent seismic shockwaves through the American running community and became a cautionary tale about the dangers of drinking and driving that resonated far beyond athletics. 12th, Ryan Dunn, Jackass Daredevil's ultimate final stunt. The beloved television Daredevil and Jackass crew member left Barnaby's Westchester bar on June 20th, 2011, with his blood alcohol measuring dangerously over twice the legal limit before getting behind the wheel of his powerful, high-performance Porsche 911 GT3 sports car. Ryan had made a career out of turning physical danger into entertainment, bruising his body through 1,000 outrageous stunts that made millions of fans simultaneously laugh, cringe, and cheer with amazement. Reports confirmed he was driving at approximately 130 miles per hour, more than double the speed limit, when he approached a sharp curve and lost complete control, crashing into a large tree and causing the expensive vehicle to explode in massive, consuming flames that lit up the Pennsylvania night sky. Both Dunn and his innocent passenger, production assistant Zachary Hartwell, died instantly in the fiery, twisted wreckage that was so severe it required dental records for identification. At 34 years old, barely a week past celebrating his birthday, his final dangerous ride offered no safety nets, no second takes, and no opportunity for the kind of miraculous recovery that had made him famous. The man who had cheated death for laughs and entertainment finally encountered a limit that even his legendary recklessness couldn't overcome, leaving fans and fellow performers stunned by the sudden reality that even professional daredevils can't defy physics and mortality forever. 13. Pelle Lindbergh, the star goalie who couldn't stop the wall. The NHL's best goaltender and recent Vezina Trophy winner, as the league's top netminder, crashed his turbocharged, high-performance Porsche 930 into a solid brick wall in Philadelphia during November 10, 1985, after a wild night of celebrating recent team victories with teammates and friends. The Swedish hockey sensation had just led the Philadelphia Flyers to the Stanley Cup Finals and was being hailed as the future of professional goaltending at only 26 years old. His lightning-fast reflexes and acrobatic saves had made him a fan favorite and respected opponent throughout the NHL. Racing through the streets with adrenaline still pumping through his veins and alcohol clouding his judgment, he lost control at high velocity and struck the immovable barrier with devastating force. The 26-year-old Philadelphia Flyers superstar was declared brain dead the following day, as teammates, fans, and the entire hockey community held vigil at the hospital. Speed mixed with celebration and alcohol proved a deadly combination for the Swedish hockey sensation, whose promising career was just beginning to reach legendary status in the competitive world of professional hockey. The Flyers lost not just their star player, but the very heart and soul of their championship aspirations, while the NHL lost one of its brightest rising stars to a preventable tragedy that echoed through hockey arenas worldwide. These tragic stories remind us that fame offers no protection from fate's cruel twists. Sometimes legends end not with fanfare, but with twisted metal and shattered dreams.